Hi guys, it's Angie. In order to cut down on some of the time in our opening meeting, I'm going to go over some of the information for the 2016-17 school year here through a video instead of during our opening meeting. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and go through a couple things that you guys will need to know for the upcoming year. The first thing is field trips. As you can see, you can have 2 field trips and 1 play this year. We did take out our project-based learning field trips and are just going to focus on the 2 main field trips in our play. All field trips will need to be put in a travel tracker by September 23rd. And please pay attention to the per mile cost. As you plan the cost of your field trips, you will need to plan for $2.50 per mile for your buses. Please make sure that you do your positive parent communication this year by September 9th. There is a documentation form that you can use. If you just make a copy of it in your Google Docs, you could go ahead and use that to document. This year, your positive parent communication does not need to be a phone call. So it can be a phone call, but if you choose to email or if you see that parent face-to-face, any of those types of communication will work as long as it's that opportunity to talk about their student in a positive way. Lesson plans. Please make sure your grade level has one common document that is shared with Mr. Nelson, myself, and Ms. Morazak. Your I can statements need to be included on your lesson plans. As you're doing your guided reading lesson plans, they need to be completed per teacher, and then those also need to be shared with me, Mr. Nelson, and Ms. Morazak. And then this year, we want to make sure that you guys are including your standards. Make sure that you have your number as well as having those standards written out. We want to make sure as we're planning each and every single lesson that we're really looking to our standards to determine that what we're teaching aligns to our standards. So anytime that you're planning, whether it's independently or with your team, please make sure you have your standards readily available. As you can see over here, there are some links. The balanced literacy lesson plans basically look the same. There is a new spot for us to include our read aloud times. Just keeping in mind these things as you're planning a read aloud. We're going to do a little bit of training on that at our first faculty meeting, hopefully. So that'll make a little bit more sense once we do a little bit of training around that. The rest of it basically looks the same. Make sure that you're putting in your before, during, and after for each of your groups. And then if you want to include your station work here, you may. If you like it better in your grade level lesson plans, that's fine as well. You also have for our 3-5 teachers our OWL time lesson plans. OWL time is taking the place of Thrive, with OWL time standing for opportunities while learning. Please make sure that you're including the standard up here. Your standard that you're working on during your OWL time should come from your standard. So please make sure that you're aligning what you're teaching during OWL time with what you're teaching during your regular class time. So whatever you're focusing on during your guided reading time should really be the same focus for your OWL time, unless that you are teaching one of the San Diego groups. When you're doing your OWL lessons, please be sure that you have 3 different groups for working with words. As we know, when we gave the test, which we will do again this year, we really could be making 5, 6, 7, 8 groups within our OWL time groups. So we're already making those groups into not as specific of a need as what they really need. But if we're only doing 1 word sort with that whole group, then we're definitely not meeting the needs of our students. So please be sure that you're following the rotation model like we discussed when we did our grade level planning days last year. We all created forms that could be hung up in your room so students knew what to do when they weren't with you, and we talked about each different station. If you need to have further discussion around that, please see me and we can be sure to revisit that. But we should have 3 different working with words groups during this OWL time, and this should take about 20 to 30 minutes of your OWL time. The rest of that time this year will be used for novels. We will be focusing on novel groups, and as we select our novels, we're going to be really cognizant of the Lexile levels that we're reading with our students to ensure that it matches the expectations of Common Core. Please be sure that you include your depth of knowledge questions as you plan for each day of your novel group. This is a place that you can start to put your data. We will be collecting data every Thursday during our OWL time. We've discussed using MobyMax and or Edulastic to collect data on each standard that you're teaching during your OWL time. And this will be looked at by myself and Mr. Nelson, so we can determine our strengths and our weaknesses and where we need to move students, if we need to move students, and maybe if we need to change some of the things that we're doing during our OWL time. And last, as far as lesson plans go, is the lesson plans document where you will need to put in the links for your lesson plans each week. I've gotten them started through December, but if you can go ahead each week and be sure to put in your grade level lesson plans here, your balanced literacy lesson plans here, and then for those of you that are 3-5 teachers and are creating OWL lesson plans, if you'll be sure to add those lesson plans here. I have also included all of our EA teachers, our ESL teacher, as well as our exceptional children's teacher. We would like for you to also include your lesson plans in this document. So that's an expectation of all certified staff. Next, we have our TA schedule. This is tentative as of now, depending on the number of TAs that we get, but you can check out the TA schedule as well as the intervention specialist schedule as it is set now. I will be sharing this document with you, so feel free to check out those links. This year, we will continue with standards-based grading, as well as the not yet meets and exceeds for science and social studies for K4, and then in social studies for 5th grade as well. But in science, 5th grade will still follow the standards-based grading. We will not have a progress report during the first quarter. You can read through the expectations for the data notebooks. This is something that is expected daily or weekly. So be sure that you're collecting data from your students for your data notebooks, which is also only going to help you have make sure that you have enough proof of mastery for your standards. Please be sure to have the forms that you would like me to copy for your data notebooks by August 26th so I can get those to the printers and get them copied. As you create your data notebooks, though, please keep in mind that we are using standards-based grading. So anything that they're documenting in their data notebook should be based off standards-based grading. I have looked at a 4th grade data notebook that does this. I've looked at a 1st grade data notebook that does this. I believe 2nd grade was already doing this last year. So if anybody has any questions, talk to one of those grade levels and they may be able to give you some ideas. Data walls. This year we'll be continuing our data walls. K2 will be doing your TRC levels. So as soon as you're done with your beginning of the year assessments, you should have those up. So by about the 3rd week of September, you should be looking to get your data walls up. 3-5, you'll be basing yours off Case 21 quarterly assessments. So you will not have that until the first 9 weeks is over. So you kind of get a bye for this beginning of the year data until after the first 9 weeks. For the math, that's the same for 3-5, and K2, you'll use your math unit assessments in order to keep up with your data walls. As you can see this year, we're also going to be doing data walls for teachers. Mr. Nelson will spend a little bit more time talking about this with you guys as the year goes on, but you guys will be creating specific goals for yourself, not for what you want your class to do, but your goal as a teacher. So specific strategies and specific goals to yourself that will be up on the wall for not only for you to see, but for your students to see as well. We will continue our Fun Fridays. So every other week we will have Fun Fridays, and I will get those on the calendar soon, so you'll be able to see which weeks those are. We will not start our Fun Fridays until after our beginning of the year assessments are complete. Homework. This year we are going to stick to reading for 20 minutes in RRJ only for homework. Please be sure to conference with your students around their RRJs. We understand that there's only 15 minutes before you will be starting your OWL time. So make sure that you're at least meeting with your students once a week. So maybe you'll meet with 5 on Tuesday, 5 on Wednesday, 5 on Thursday, or 6 on Tuesday, 6 on Wednesday, so that you're not worried about trying to meet with every student in your class every day. We realize there isn't time for that. This year, your class meetings will be held twice a month on Fridays. You may choose which Fridays you want to use, but they need to happen at least twice a month. Please be sure to continue filling out the Google document with your plus deltas and any issues that may come up with your class. This year, we're going to try to do a better job of keeping up with discipline referrals that just come to the office. Maybe they weren't written up, but they came to the office for a break. They came to the office just to talk to Mr. Nelson before things get even more out of hand. Those types of things are going to be documented so we can keep up with when these students are coming to the office, how often they're coming to the office, whose classes these students are coming from, just so we have some data to back up and talk about in our PBIS, with our PBIS team. And then last but not least, you're going to see a video link also on the site where you guys will be able to access a video by Mrs. Lee about United Way. Please see me or Mr. Nelson if you have any questions concerning any of the items that were discussed on this video, and I hope you guys have a great year.